I think we can start from the FOMC meeting. I mean, there's not much to discuss about it. I think we covered it pretty nicely before it actually happened, on the day it happened. And then the meeting itself was not a big surprise. We had a rate cut pause, which was priced in weeks before that. I thought the press conference was interesting in the sense that when the interest rate decision came out, we also had the headlines coming out, right, from the meeting points before the conference. And one of the headlines basically said that the Fed removed the reference that inflation is making progress towards the 2% target, right? And that created some uncertainty and this resulted in a sell-off. But then when the press conference started, Powell sounded, I wouldn't say dovish per se, but more dovish than expected, right? And he even suggested that there's no particular reason why we took away that reference to inflation improving. It's just some cleaning up some language. And he actually reiterated that they're confident that the Fed believes that inflation will make progress. And I think that was a very good signal for the next few weeks and months. We have to understand that the easing cycle is slower now compared to quarter 3 and quarter 4 last year. So the market is still expecting no rate cut for March and May, and the first rate cut is being priced in for June. So that's quite a big period of rate cut pauses, right? Which can still change depending on inflation data and macroeconomic data. If I'm completely honest, I personally think that Powell is running out of arguments to keep interest rates high because inflation data is not as bad as suggested, or at least as bad as expected. And we have also seen some weakness in the labor market recently. If we look at job openings yesterday, they were below expectations. We had a few other matrices that also suggested the same. If you look at initial jobless claims, for instance, and what will be interesting will be the unemployment rate and NFP numbers on Friday, right? So if they also suggest that the labor market is actually weakening, then I think Powell is running out of arguments to keep interest rates high. And if not, it will have the market speculate that Powell may actually pivot slightly and cut interest rates before June. And that's what I'm looking at when it comes to macroeconomic data. So yesterday we had job openings below expectations, as I said, and we've seen the S&P 500 reacting positively to this, right? So this proves again in what context we're currently operating in, where data that suggests that the economy is slower than expected actually leads to growing stock markets, which is quite unusual. Usually, good economic data supports strong stock markets, right? But in this context, because we are facing a period where the Fed is keeping monetary conditions tight, or at least tighter than expected, then this is the result of weak economic data. I personally think that a tighter easing cycle is to the most part priced in the last few weeks and months, especially at the beginning of January, end of December. That caught the market by surprise, right after the December FOMC meeting. So I personally don't think that this will be a big problem for the market, especially if data comes in good as suggested. So this will be one thing that we will keep monitoring. And then we have the tariff tensions, but maybe you can we can add more on that.
Well, I'll add to my breakdown of the F1C press conference, and we did stream it. We had a really good stream, phenomenal stream. Really, we had about 300 people tune into that. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys saw what I saw. Again, in the morning with DB last week, I said that everybody's expectations going into the press conference is a hawkish one, a negative one. That seems to be the main consensus going into the press conference. And again, like DB just stated, it wasn't that it was very dovish, but it was definitely not what people were expecting, not what I was expecting as well. In comparison to the meeting before that, what we ended up getting was a pretty decisive, clear Um, Not a vague sort of Powell. We got a Powell that stood on business, as people would say, clarified anything that may have been misinterpreted, which is rare. It's very rare for Powell to do that. Again, the last week's meeting I think caught a lot of people off guard. They were expecting a lot more harsher comments towards their justification of keeping rates still, and instead, what we did get was anything related to the new administration was avoided at all costs, or at least to the best of his possibilities, which is not something he did in the previous month before. So I do commend Powell for that, because what he doesn't know he won't answer on, and last week he made that meeting very clear. A lot of people, and it's normal. It's normal for a lot of interviewers and journalists to go, oh, what do you think about with these policies? What do you think, or how will that affect your decisions moving forward? And he kind of cut them off early when it came to questions like that. Which again, a market loves to know where they're heading next. And again, if someone's going to elaborate, extrapolate, and speculate on what the new policies could do before they actually happen, that's not really comfortable for market participants. So I do commend Powell last week for avoiding that flirting with these sort of topics, because he did shut them down. We were thoroughly impressed on the stream last week when we because he was getting battered with these sort of questions, right? And he kind of stuck to the script, same old Powell, good as usual. And in that case, when we compare it to the month before that, where he kind of went off script on a lot of questions, this time around he kind of stuck to it, right? And again, it's like DB said, the data that we're seeing is starting to not align with his justification for keeping rates the same for as however long he wishes to have them in, and that's in June. I take a look at the dollar today, and you can already kind of see that people are responding to this. So by the time people are expecting rate cuts, this dollar over here will be where they expect it to be priced in by then. Now, where that might be, we don't know, but a weak dollar is stronger for speculative assets. I'm a thorough believer in that. So again, with the data we're seeing, with the tone of Powell, and now that people have an expectation of when these rate cuts can actually come in, I think people are pricing in the fact that might be a bit earlier, and we see this with the dollar, right, showing some significant macro weakness, two failures to push higher, and now going back to levels where. We either were when rates were super high or when they began to decrease. So that's something to keep in mind. But one question I do know, and we were about to end off the stream, right? We thought it was going to be the same mumbo jumbo, and then boom, at the end came the question regarding crypto, and I guess that was the highlight for our industry and for most of us watching, where someone asked, specifically about crypto and banks being able to operate, which Powell came out surprisingly as a knight in white shining armor, and pretty much said, "Look, we have no desire to battle innovation. All we ask is that people understand the risks associated with them, and we will not." Stop banks from pushing forward innovation and allowing people to speculate on innovation. It was something along those lines. It was a great meeting. If you compare what we were going into, right? What we thought we were going into at the start of the stream with me and DB, the expectation was very, very negative, hawkish. People were cautious and very, very uncertain. And Powell just kind of came in and gave us what we're used to. And again, if a market gets what they're used to, they feel a lot more secure and becoming a bit more risk on. So again, we have a roadmap on when rate cuts can continue to decrease. However, we have information that would suggest that's a lot sooner than their proposed plan. And now, of course, we have a dollar that seems to fall in line with this belief. So that covers up pretty much FOMC press conference. And to top it all off with the Sunday, the little cherry on top, specifically to our markets, got pretty much the green light saying we're not looking to fight you guys, we're not looking to stop you guys. We just ask that you understand the risks, and I'm completely okay with that. It's probably the best thing Paolo could have said about us, our industry. So again, with that being said, I take it as a positive. The market did respond accordingly. And then, of course, later on in the weekend, I would say Thursday, Friday. Friday is when the tariff tension started, right? That's when it became very, very uncertain for the market. Now again, Whether you want to consider it related to crypto or not, that's up to you. Whether that had a direct effect, but make no mistake, the culprits or the ones designing a sell-off definitely took weekend volatility to its full extent and full advantage. They took those fears, they capitalized on them. They took a lot of overexposed positions, and that began the sell-off and
Yeah.
capitulation and the stop hunts, and that led to more liquidations on top of more liquidations until it finally ran out of steam. So again, those tariff headlines were conveniently placed on the weekend. Now whether that was to nuke a certain market or to prevent TradFi from responding very, very poorly in the interim is up to your interpretation. I found it very convenient for it to come out on the weekend. Naturally, our market is 24/7. We respond to news much quicker than TradFi would. But then the resolving of these issues came conveniently around Monday afternoon, right? Where it looked like it was going to be the end of the world. Crypto exaggerated, mostly because a free market doesn't stop you from getting margin called, doesn't allow you to reorganize your books. So that led to a liquidation cascade of multiple billions of dollars. By the way, I think it was the largest liquidation cascade in our entire history, and that's to be expected. Our market cap grows in significant amounts. In terms of how many participants actually exist these days, it's normal to have received a liquidation cascade of that magnitude. I think those numbers will increase the more mature our market becomes. But all this to say is these tariff wars over the weekend started to fuel up. They started to get worse and worse. And then conveniently by Monday afternoon, like I said on our Monday stream, that these will most likely get resolved rather quickly. I don't think anybody wants to actually go through trade wars with their neighboring partners. It would be bad for business. And it was used more as a negotiation tactic for the USA more specifically. So again, we saw, kind of an advantage being taken of on the speculative market, which is crypto, pushed a lot of people out of their positions. But by Monday afternoon, it was essentially resolved, right? So it's just to put an emphasis on what this administration does and how it affects a market. By now, you guys should know that it's no joke. It's no joke, right? They have the power and the influence to cause a real spook, a real scare, and to shake things up dramatically. So that's something to keep in mind. We shouldn't fade these sort of headlines when they do come to fruition, but we should try to think ahead, right? Like we did on Monday morning. We should try to think ahead. What's better for business? What's bad for business? And whether is this all a bluff? Is this all a negotiation tactic, or is it for real? So with that being said, I think I said everything I had to say leading up until this moment. I mean, there's other things we can discuss for sure, but whether that's market related or not, still time to tell. We'll see. Why do I think
Yeah.
the dump happened on the weekend? I just explained that. I think a lot of the price action that you saw on the weekend was a result of taking advantage of a really, really poor headline on low volume. And that low volume led to stop hunts being hit, which led to liquidations being hit, which led to more liquidations being hit until it finally ran out of steam. That's what a cascade is, right? I know you haven't seen that in a really long time, but that used to be how our markets ran. Is that the first group of people get stop hunted, that leads into the first wave of liquidations. Those liquidations are so big, it leads into the next wave of liquidations until it wipes out pretty much all the way down to 75x or more.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it was quite clear that tariffs are a bargaining tactic, right? Especially after news emerged right away that Trump is willing to meet with Canada and Mexico a day, I believe, after we had the first headlines about tariffs. And so that was quite obvious that he will be demanding something from these two countries. And after the meeting, we saw Mexico agreeing to send troops to their border with the US, right? So I think this also will reduce the impact that tariffs will have on our markets in the near term, because people will understand more and more that it's not really a long-term solution that Trump is trying to follow, but it's more to push his political agenda, which is fine because he understands the power that the United States has. He knows that he can use that bargaining chip, right? So he's using it in his administration's advantage. Now, the side effects might not be as pleasant for everybody, but I don't think that this will have long-term implications. Tariffs can increase inflation as well. I know that inflation will keep interest rates high, and that's not in the interest of Trump. I think he wants to be measured by the performance of stock markets in the next few years. So he'll try everything to keep interest rates low, and keeping tariffs high with neighboring countries or with the EU or with China. I don't think that plays into his card. So I think the narrative of tariffs will lose some significance in the near term, and it won't influence our market as it has in the last few days. And to be fair, it was mostly crypto over exaggerating, right? If you look at traditional financial markets, yes, they dropped, but nothing significantly. I mean, the S&P 500 only dropped a few percentage points on Monday, and even the futures index, when it started trading on Sunday, it wasn't that bad, to be honest. Just the overreaction and the liquidation cascade in crypto made it appear very dramatic, right? Because TradeFi, I mean, that was I would even say a quite normal reaction to some kind of FUD related either to the macroeconomic side of things or to the political side of things. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we covered it pretty well. We will see what Trump will do with China now. I think there will be a meeting in the next few days, and if there's some form of agreement between the two countries, I think we have the worst part behind us. And regardless of the outcome of the meeting, I think we have the worst part behind us, at least for crypto. Now, for the S&P 500 or other stock markets, I can't guarantee that. It will depend on news. But after such a big liquidation event in crypto, I think we have the worst behind us. So if you have positions on spots from Sunday, I think you should be fine. If you hold some of these positions for a bit longer, you should have good entries, and I would be very surprised if we lose the recent lows in the market.
What
All
exactly is
right.
happening with? I'm curious. What exactly is happening with China and the U.S. right now? The tariffs were negotiated yet, right?
Yeah, so there've been news emerging, I believe, last night.
Yeah, about postal
That
service, right?
yeah, the China is imposing like a 10% tariff on certain goods that
Okay.
created the sell-off after Bitcoin recovered to 102K. And
Mm-hmm.
then there was supposed to be a meeting between Trump and the president of China, which apparently got canceled, and that also created some uncertainty. And now people are just waiting for this meeting to happen and see if there's any form of resolution. But I mean, I would be very surprised if there will be an actual tariff war that lasts longer than what we have seen until now between the United States and China. It's not in the interest of either country to do that, to be honest.
um, I think it depends on how you look at it. For the most part, in the short term, it's not good for either country. We know this. But in the long term, who gains and benefits more from it, I think, is the real question to ask. Because in the short term, it's any sort of imposed trade war, tariffs, et cetera, is not good for anybody. Mostly the people, but for economies in the short term, they suffer dramatically just because there's a gap to fill, and for that reason, the short term is never pretty, which is why it's always used more as a negotiating tactic. But like I like to think at this point, China and U.S. are competitors on multiple scales of things. Maybe not military wise, but definitely GDP wise. Um, in the race of AI for sure at this point. Any sort of tech, even though it's hard to consider that, but it's just to say they are major trade partners. Now does one rip off the other? I think so, which is why these tariffs get pushed continuously. In the short term, both of them will suffer because a lot of the product that the USA receives is made in China, and a lot of the work that China receives is from the USA. So that's a trade off that will hurt both countries in the short term significantly. However, in the longer term scale of things, who could benefit more from it? Well, I do think the USA could benefit a lot more from it, but to do so, certain policies would need to be put into place that incentivize, um, I want to say, companies or corporations that manufacture out of mainland USA, right? To come back to the USA, maybe give them a tax break, et cetera. There's a lot of angles you can go from here, but in the short term, both will suffer dramatically. So any sort of tension, immediate tension rising on this sort of issue, will have an absolute negative impact on markets in general. There's no doubt about it. But in the long term, if you're more of a long term player, more of a medium term player, you can see who kind of wins that debacle, right? And in this case, again, I think China has ripped off the USA for a bit too long here. And as long as the right policies are put into place for the USA and for its manufacturers and for its corporations, that business has to go somewhere, right? So if they can't outsource it because everywhere else around the world is being tariffed and there's huge penalties for doing so, and the only break you get is by coming back to the USA, hiring USA. You could see the benefit for that in the medium to long term, right? So um, we'll keep an eye out for any sort of rising tensions between them two, because that'll have a negative short term impact for sure. Just because that creates an immediate loss of revenue for both countries, right? So, but in the long term, it'll make more sense to kind of speculate on who might win that, right? And for that, you'd have to follow policies as they tag along. So that's something to keep in mind. We got New York Open here in DB, so it's about to start. Let's see how the market reacts. So far, not bad. Not bad for a pre-market. Looks like it wants to gap up here on a number of things. So let's see. Okay, SPX gapped down. Silver gapped up, right? Am I crazy? Yeah, silver gapped up. SPX with a tiny gap down. Gold is trending hard. You see, this looks more like parabolic than anything. This is what parabolic PA looks like, by the way, boys. That's more what it looks like. This is how it looks. This is where I think like BDC is like ready to go next. Like this is how I think BDC goes next. Like if I had to assume, like BDC is like in this sort of phase right here. What about XRP? I mean, this is more of a macro stream, so we're just looking at like the
Yeah,
big assets here.
we don't discuss charts in this stream.
I mean, we do, but maybe towards the end of the stream, because right now we're just watching New York Open, so we just want to see like how's the market reacting to yesterday's press conference, and we'll look at some pairings later on for sure. It's just
Yeah,
trying to get
yeah.
a feel for the market.
Yesterday's conference, I actually got upset. Not gonna lie, not because the conference didn't reveal anything interesting. I didn't expect much to be revealed at this point. I just got upset that the market sold off after it. I mean, it just showed how spoiled we got. We just had a U.S. government that went for the most part against crypto. If you look at what the
Yep.
SEC did, right, and trying to. I mean, I don't have a problem with trying to regulate the market. I think if big money has to, or if you want big money to join the market, regulations will be needed, right? So Trump thinks the same. He's working on that as well. But we can argue for many things that we had a U.S. government that went against innovation, right? That went against crypto. Now we have a radical shift, I would say. We
Oh
have
yeah.
a new government. We have a new government that's not in office for more than what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
2 weeks
right?
about.
So
Yeah.
it's not a lot of time. I mean, Trump is trying to tackle some bigger issues right now, right? Like
Yeah.
the Ukraine war or the southern border, Canada, whatever, trade policies, tariffs. These are obviously more important things, but we can see that he is actually serious about crypto and he wants to work on crypto, right? We now
100%.
got a task force and we got a conference with representatives from the White House, from the Senate,
Yep.
from the House of Representatives,
Yep.
talking about plans on working on crypto, and what's the reaction of the market? It's a sell-off. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, people are missing the greater picture here, right? I think if Trump wants to work on crypto, it will take months and months and years to do so. We
Oh, I
cannot
wouldn't say
expect
years. I
much
wouldn't say
after.
years. I mean, like I agree with you though. I agree with you. I was saying the same yesterday because I did a live watch party with the Discord, right? And I got a lot of comments, like a lot of people just being, "Oh, nothing burger, this, that," and it's like I told them on chat saying like, "What did you expect these guys to come on and say? We're establishing XRP to the moon, Dogecoin to the moon, and whatever meme that I guess people were shouting out.
Yeah,
Like
exactly,
I was even
exactly,
watching a YouTube live stream. And you just saw people just spamming tickers, like just spamming tickers.
exactly.
It's. I mean, to me, it's
That got
complete.
me mad.
Yeah, it,
Yeah, I
it
got
got me frustrated too because it's just the
exactly.
complete brain rot of this industry. It's no longer about innovation to them. It's about gambling, and it's about my bag going up and me cashing out for whatever you. I mean, it's not what the space started on. The space used to beg for this sort of attention, and we got it right. So as I was sitting there in awe that
Exactly.
we had a bunch of people that you would look at and you would think, oh, these people would never understand crypto in a million years. Just a bunch of old, middle-aged men. They wouldn't understand this. And then instead, what we got is like these gritty, excited looks on their face. The same one I got, right, when I first understood what this could solve. Right. So
Yeah,
I saw that same like twinkle in their eyes. It was like, oh, you have no idea what this can do for us. You have no idea the benefit. And it's like, wow, they're talking like how I used to talk 5, 6 years ago, where I used to have like this twinkle in my eyes, and everybody would be like, "What the fuck are you saying? You don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, "You have no idea." And then I remember this guy in the press conference. He came on later saying, "Bitcoin's just the start of it." And then he's like, "There's a bunch of other things that make blockchain technology great." And he's like, "That's it's just the tip of the iceberg. Like this just solves the financial problem. It's like this." Blockchain technology is he was telling us like it's like a public ledger and you could build on it, and I was like, oh my god. I'm like, these guys get it. They finally get it. So
yeah, yeah,
I took that as a strong positive because it's the same sort of giddiness and excitement I got when I thought I figured out the next best thing, and it looks like Dave did too. But all that aside, what it really was it was a regulation press conference, meaning they were going to talk about the structure of regulation, what it's going to take to get this into the hands of serious people, and how they choose and plan to propose it, right? They said within 100
yeah.
days they'd have something cooked up. That is extreme urgency in the world of legislation. I hope everybody understands this. Um,
Absolutely,
we are
absolutely. Yeah,
dealing with an administration that's not looking to waste any time. It's going to take time, but it's not looking to waste time. And I have a lot of optimism for that. I think yesterday was an over exaggeration, and I think today you're going to see why I think that's an over exaggeration. It was rather positive. I again I was reading the comments yesterday, and I was on the YouTube live chat. It was some of the comments in the Discord just saying, oh, no mention of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This is a nothing burger, waste of time. It's like, but this allows the green light for companies to feel safe and want to build in the USA, and they know that someone's working and reaching out to them. Whereas 4 years ago, for the past four
absolutely.
years ago, we had Gary Gensler just fucking like a lapdog, just closing down all innovation. It's like this is a, like you said, it's a radical switch in their approach to something that they were once threatened by.
Yeah.
And it's
Just
it, yeah, go on, yeah, for sure.
no, I just wanted just to list a few things, right? We have banks being more open towards crypto. You know, this was a taboo topic for banks a few years ago. You know it better than me, right?
Yeah.
Apart from that, we now have Powell saying that banks are fine with operating or with dealing with crypto, right?
Yep.
We've had Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, being more open to crypto. We have the U.S. president. I mean, I don't want to say launching a meme coin, right? Because he's doing way more than that. But it just shows how embedded he is in this market, in this industry, and that he actually understands its importance and the essential part of this technology. And now we have committees from different institutions, major American institutions, working on crypto. I don't know, man. I mean, I just think the industry is developing so much. Before that, we got two crypto related ETFs, which was also something nobody could have imagined a few years ago. If you told somebody that, you know, TradeFi
It's true.
will be able to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum, If you told that, if I told that to you, Rego,
It's true.
in 2020, it seems something impossible, right?
I mean,
And the
we
industry
always
is
had
developing.
we always had the wet dream of it, right? It just when it actually happened, it kind of just sat there in shock, right? Because it's like, oh, this is finally happening. It's finally happening. So yeah, no, you
Yeah,
absolutely. You would have told me 4 years ago. I would have said, we're 10 years away from that. That's what I would have told you. 10 years away.
yeah,
Time moves fast.
yeah.
It moves really fast.
And all these things mentioned, this is why I simply got frustrated when I saw the sell-off. I mean, I understand this is still a market that trades based on speculation and expectations and narratives. I get it, but I wouldn't let myself be confused on about the greater picture that is developing here, just because of some lower time frame overreaction, price action, whatever you want to call it. I just feel like I need to mention these things, because I don't want to see people losing sight of what's actually happening on the greater scheme of things, because there are a lot of positive things happening, if you
Oh,
ask
it's
me.
crazy. It's crazy. It's something that like they would never discuss, and word for word would never discuss. And like just to give a little bit more, once again, another cherry on the end of the Sunday there that we got yesterday. And again, it was an underwhelming press conference. Don't get me wrong. It's not like anything was proposed. It was rather vague, but it's the demeanor, it's the tone of the people presenting to you. It was the excitement in their faces, kind of like once again. I mean, maybe this generation's different, but like when I got in, it was people were excited to be a part of this because they actually felt like they were contributing to something that innovative and pioneer, right? Like it's not the same maybe this generation around because everybody just again just throws their money on weird useless things that don't solve a single thing other than their own financial situation. But like I got that same look, or I saw that same look that I had when I finally understood what I was a part of. And it's like again, I saw that in their faces yesterday. They were just smiling from ear to ear, super excited. Patams, I want to congratulate, almost like they already solved all of America's problems. And this is like the funniest thing is like DB, if you were from like my time, 2018, 2017, 2016, you couldn't help but like go up to someone and be like, this solves everything. This solves everything. All the problems we have, it solves everything. And it's like I saw that same look on their face where they were like, oh, this solves everything. From auditing and public ledgers to like autonomous bookkeeping. Like they had like that twinkle in their eye. And I guess that's what I saw as the most biggest positive from the entire press conference. I saw a group of people that were extremely excited to move forward with what they had in mind. Now we didn't get any clarity on that. A lot of it was stablecoin talk, and again, your priority here is making sure that companies don't feel threatened or feel like criminals for running a crypto company. So they have to get to the bottom line of what's okay and what's not okay, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in this world, right? For businesses to want to be American based and not move offshore. That's their priority because they're losing too much of I want to say the crypto's great minds or crypto's innovations by punishing innovative and pioneer solutions. They keep going offshore and they keep losing that business. So it was only natural and normal for them to want to prioritize this, make this a big deal for them. We're getting a nice little rip here. That's good. That's more like it. Um, it made more sense, right? At least for me, for them to prioritize this, create some groundwork, some ground rules, and that should entice people to want to pick America, right? To start working on blockchain based technologies because for the past 4 years anybody that even uttered the words was either immediately audited, charged with SEC fraud, or whatever the fuck it was always negative. We never saw a positive headline. And just to end that press conference, someone asked specifically about the strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? And what they said is we've been told to look into it almost immediately. We are considering it. We're discussing the possibilities and the potential. I guess we're evaluating it, is what they said. So like for someone to say, "Oh, look, he lied to us. He didn't tell us a single thing." It seems very clearly that it's on their mind. It's one of their priorities. It takes time, right? You're in a nation that just got a new administration, has been hemorrhaging money out the ass, funding a bunch of things that they do not or should not be funding. And they're in the process right now of cutting the fat, trimming the fat. They're looking, where is the useless spending coming from? How do we abolish this immediately? And then after that, you're given a budget. And once that budget is made, then you can refinance your debt. So that's really what state the USA is in right now. They're not just going to start, oh, we're just going to start turbo buying, a specific asset. There needs to be a budget, right? And we said this at the start with the inauguration, right? We said this at the start, that the priority is their whatever's happening on U.S. soil. Most importantly, the American people are the first people that need to be accounted for because their taxpayers' money is going unspent to ridiculous things, and it's about cutting the fat now. So we've seen a number of things, right? Like I don't know about UDV, but like over the past week, we've seen like a number of things regarding this issue where they're just coming in and pretty much dismantling a whole department, right? Cutting off funding from hundreds of whatever you want to call them, institutions, associations, whatever you want to call it. There's been so much cuts in funding, and that's a step in the right direction. This administration hasn't taken a single fucking break for almost 16 days now. So it's a start. It's a start. We're only
Yeah.
yeah, we're only less than 3 weeks in here, less than 3 full weeks in here, and we've gotten essentially everything you would want, everything you would want. It's just again, it's because there's no XRP to the moon on the microphone that like I guess people just get discouraged and then yeah, it upsets me
Yeah,
too, DB. It upsets me too.
it's just about expectations, right? The market is not as good in setting the right expectations before going into events like this. Eric Trump starts tweeting about Ethereum, then people automatically make the connection that the conference will be something about Ethereum. And then if it doesn't happen, it doesn't really matter what the conference covers, right? It's just the fact that Ethereum is not mentioned or Bitcoin is not necessarily mentioned. I saw people being frustrated because they use the word digital assets and not really cryptocurrency. And that already got people upset. It's just about not meeting the expectations, and the expectations in our market are not often accurate. I want to say, but yeah, I think I agree on the macro perspective, on the greater scheme of things. It doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too bad.
No, it looks pretty good, especially if you're an American citizen, right? Like, I know a lot. I know there's a lot of like counter. I want to say there's a lot of counters to the positivity that crypto is receiving on the North American side, but like in terms of Europe and stuff, like they've been clamping down. They've been clamping down, especially on market trade, right? Like, from my understanding, I think the EU people are going through it right now, aren't they? They're pretty much just being closed off from every exchange, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah, the thing
So
is that
yeah,
yeah, sorry, no, go ahead.
no, go. You're
I
from
just
there, right? So,
Yeah, I just wanted to say something related to this. Like many things that Trump can do about crypto also take time in the sense that his team needs to check the legislation behind it, right? Because when he makes an executive order, or if he does anything in favor of crypto, he wants to make sure that that's not rejected by a court as well, right? Because that can also happen, right? So checking the legislation, checking if everything he wants to do is in line with the law. I think that takes time, and over the next few weeks and months, we have specifically these committees that will do their best to have everything in line with the legislation,
within 100
and
days.
then
Yeah.
yeah, I mean
They mentioned
it
within
takes time,
100
right?
days, even less. They said within 100 days or even less that the first bill will be introduced, right? So
And of course, they said that we were told by Trump to look into the strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? And that to me just tells that they want to do it the right way. They cannot just say, "All right, let's just buy all the Bitcoin and let's just create a strategic Bitcoin reserve." I mean, Trump will say it in his election campaign because he's a politician, but of course, it takes a lot of more work and planning than that, and we can clearly see that that's how the administration sees this as well. So I think we will have a lot of news related to crypto in the next few months, and I'm actually looking forward to that.
yeah, I don't think it's gonna stop, guys. I don't think it's gonna stop. And again, like your expectations and what's actually happening here just need to be recalibrated. I think. maybe recalibrate what you might be holding, or whether there's a future for it. I do mean that sincerely. I think a lot of I think a lot of positives for crypto, but it's going to be for things that actually may potentially have a use case. Um, I just want to state that very clearly. I think a lot of shit has been peddled over the past 6-7 months. So again, when we talk about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, or we talk about like positive regulations for crypto in general, does this necessarily mean that I don't even know what's like a meme these days? Like what's a crazy meme these days? I don't even know. I'm just gonna throw three words together like I can't even think of it. Just whatever XYZ meme coin that you might have. If you think this is somehow included, or whatever, like maybe just try to reevaluate like what you're actually holding, because again, I even in even in 2017, even in 2021, there was still like this belief, or people invested based on what they thought something could solve. And even if it ended up being a nothing burger, there was still some sort of speculation based off this, right? I think a lot of people underestimate,
Mhm.
like, if there's any money to come into this space, it's going to be people that are not going to be buying whatever these things are. They want to buy something that
Yeah.
they feel has a value or has some sort of problem to solve. And the more and more I think
Mhm.
about it, the more and more I consider why XRP has ran so well, is that there is a lot of speculation and talk about crypto, and maybe Bitcoin is too expensive for people. So what do they look at?
Mhm. I
Well,
think I think Trump
they're not
cut.
really fans of Ethereum, because again, it's got its problems, and there's issues with it, and to some people that might be too expensive too.
Yeah.
Even for Solana,
Uh,
sometimes they might look at it, it might be too expensive sometimes, and then finally they have something that has solid branding, solid community, something like XRP, and you're wondering where all that market cap and spot demand is coming from. And it's like, again, it's like maybe not everybody wants to invest in something, or speculate on something that is proven to do nothing. Now, I'm not saying
mhm.
XRP does anything whatsoever, but I'm saying that the idea that they could do something, or that the company is well established, definitely appeals to
Yeah.
the normal speculator. Whether they understand the beginner's trap of it or not, they still want to feel like they're buying into something that might solve a problem. So they look at the market cap, they look at the branding, they look at who it's associated with, and they go, "Oh, this is my thing. It's only $2. It's only
Yeah.
$3." Right? Keep that
Yeah,
in mind.
I think Trump really changed the dynamics of our market, at least in the short term, right? So I personally think that utility will be valued a lot more if we have another leg up in the market. We've seen meme coins run in November, in December, but Trump, with all his plans about crypto, just has, as you said, right, has shown that there are actually projects that can bring a lot of value to the US governments, to the institutions. And this is why we've got meme coins basically. I don't want to use the word dying, but underperforming compared to actual coins that bring the utility, that are associated with Trump or his administration. Just speaking of Ondo, for example, Trump has been buying it. It's been praised by BlackRock. Then you have other projects. I even want to say Cardano, for example. I know that the Cardano founder has good ties with Trump. Solana being a US based coin, which Trump used to launch his meme coin on. I just think that the dynamics have changed a lot more towards utility, which is good to see, because only meme coins pumping in this market basically suggests that it's not about the tech, it's not about utility, it's only about greed coming into the market, losing all their money and going out, right? And nothing really remains. And now re-emphasizing the actual tech side of things, which is interesting as well. Of course, we're all here for the profits, but um, seeing the actual value that can come out of this industry is also interesting. And I think Trump has played a big role in shifting that attention from meme coins to more utility. So this is also why I'm personally also mostly trading utility coins right now. I think with Trump and his plans in the next few months, a lot of them are going to sustain their strength, so to speak.
It's there's so much to unpack. We're 3 weeks into a 4 year long presidency. A lot's gonna get done. But yeah, it's we got a long road ahead of us, boys. It's just I don't know. I'm thinking right now. Just thinking right now when it comes to utilities, and again, like a lot of them, and over the past 8 years, promised to solve something or do something. A lot of them turned out to be completely, utterly useless and total scams. So you need to select wisely. I would say, what would I say in the secondary market cycle? Uh,
I've shared something in my corner today. If I may just share the link to that
Go
in
for
the
it.
chat, which is very interesting to me, right? I've just looked at the sectors that have been rebounding the hardest from Sunday, and it's L1s and DeFi. It's not gaming, it's not meme coins, it's not even AI. It's actually L1s and DeFi, and this just tells me a lot about the importance of focusing on utility coins these days, and basically confirms to a certain extent what I've just said about this rotation of attention from the more speculative things to actual utility.
So
And just shared this.
the L1,
Just shared this.
the L1 performance comes mostly from the usage of the token itself, right? And the fact that there's so much shit built on these things. So like these L1s, they actually have a use case. The use case is for people to gamble on them and to have to use their tokens to move in and out of funds. I've always understood that. Now the real issue between L1s is which one's cheaper to do said gambling on, right? As for decentralized finance, I've always liked the idea. Problem is, there's always some sort of backdoor or loophole written in the contracts of these things. I've seen them, what, in 2020, 2021, where just the idea sounded perfect, and then all of a sudden it's like, oops, the dev forgot to do this on the contract, and for that reason everybody's wallets get drained or the token gets exploited. I remember the word being the token gets exploited. Um, so like I'm always iffy about DeFi, right? But I do understand the buzz around it. And layer ones, well, they'll the layer ones are the layer ones. There's a reason why they have such a high market cap, right? You won't see me battle the Ethereum Solana arguments. I think those are your two next best buys after BDC, right? So it makes sense that they perform exceptionally well on the recoveries or outperform like niche categories like AI or gaming. Because again, I like to think these ones are buzzwords. It's not that I don't think they have any value, even though I might be implying that. Um, it's just they're buzzwords, right? To me, they're buzzwords. I don't know how, for example, I don't know how they correlate with one another to the real sector and vice versa. But at least layer ones, they have a use case, and that use case is to transfer funds in and out, and to participate on all these pairings you see here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reason for it. And DeFi is DeFi, right? That there's a fundamental value to them, pretty much on the way they're structured, right? The problem is, it's like, are there any exploits or are there any backdoors that the dev, quote unquote, oops, forgot to fix, or oops, forgot to not include in there? That's the only thing about DeFi that's always been the scariest part, in my opinion, about it all. Because if you've been here when we had a DeFi summer, there was a lot of that. So, but I definitely see why certain ones have performed better than the others for sure. But I don't know, DB. Do we have anything else to talk
Oh,
about? There's only 3 minutes left.
it's wow. I didn't even realize it's only 3 more minutes. Um, I mean, we talked about the FMC, we talked about tariff tensions, we talked about yesterday's conference. I think these were the three major events. I think we have some earnings reports in the next few days with MicroStrategy and Coinbase. It's I don't think it's more important than what we discussed today, but something to keep in mind. What else? We got some unemployment numbers on Friday, but we will cover that in the corner. Other than that, I think we covered everything. We didn't get much to the chat, unfortunately, but as you said at the beginning, there's just so much to cover that
Well, the chat didn't really the chat didn't really talk. It's been mostly Pocky copy pastas. Everybody just pretty much chiming in on what we were talking about, and that's it.
all right. So I think if there's no other question, oh, look at the copy pastas. Is it really this boring?
Nah, they're just a bit brainwashed.
All right, I think I'm good.
I saw that, Gummy. I saw that. Our boy is 40 years old. Our boy is 40 years old.
He's going for 1,000 goals. Not stopping before that.
He's not stopping until he literally cannot play anymore. Like that, if like that's the thing. It's just, dude. I could have been in a like coma for 12 years, and I would have thought his career. I would have been like, oh, how was Ronaldo's retirement? Like, oh, bro, he's still playing. I would have been like, what? It's
Yeah,
insane. It's insane.
man, I grew up watching Ronaldo. I was a little kid when I watched him at Manchester, and I still watch him. I'm 31 years old, so it's absolutely insane. It's
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Shouts to the goat. Oh well, I can't say that because for whatever reason. But shouts to arguably one of football's greatest treasures. And that's 10
Absolutely.
o'clock. That's 10 o'clock. I mean, yeah, man, we had a good stream, very productive. We covered a lot, lots of things that were discussed. There's really not much more to cover. Of course, there was like something to do with the whole. I think there was a conference yesterday with Trump and Netanyahu, but I don't think that matters too much for our markets. It didn't seem like if it escalates, we'll be sure to let you know. But like it didn't seem like that had much to do with markets. So I think it's better we leave that one out. But everything else seemed to have dramatic effect on our markets. We were able to pretty much document it from start to finish. Um, Next week, I don't think we have anything crazy coming up, right?
Just some data releases and CPI on the 15th. But is
All
it
right,
next
that's
week?
interesting. If we have
I
CPI,
don't know.
that's going to be interesting. But
Yeah.
other than that, I think we have an otherwise smooth week, but smooth week with this administration can mean many different things. We're one headline away from the market shitting their pants, and we're one headline away from the market FOMO longing. So we keep a sharp eye. Guys, try to keep in tune with Trump press conferences. He tends to hold them sporadically out of nowhere, but rather frequently. So every time you have a chance to hear him speak, just tune into it, put it on the background. Just make sure you're not missing anything because these markets move fast with the guy with the claims that he makes on a day-to-day basis, right? So keep that in mind. But with that being said, we're gonna end this off here. We don't want to go off too much longer. DB, always a pleasure. Chat, always a pleasure.
Likewise, bro. Thank you
All
for
right.
joining, guys. Appreciate it as always. Stay safe trading and take care. Have a good one.
Agreed. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. And yeah, happy trading and stay safe.